Welcome to a special edition of Dave Cooper Live, and we're going to have a fun day today. We're going to have a great show. We're going to talk about educating this industry through higher education, and two people that have been on a road show that are sitting with me, Nolan, Browne, and Colby Swanson, both no stranger to the show, both big advocates for the industrialized revolution of the system-built industry, I should say. But anyhow, listen. We're going to talk about all kinds of things in their roadshow at the universities, who they're visiting, why they're here helping us unpack our new home and location and help build out the new studio. No, they don't know that part yet. But before we do that, we got to say a quick shout out to Carson Holmquist and the folks at Stream Logistics. They are experts in high stake freight, and they are the people that you need to be talking to if you are looking to move loads and loads of panels, modules, anything big that you need to protect and get to the place it needs to get to safely. They are using high tech to do that. We also want to thank the folks at Combi Lift, Paul Short, who is out there somewhere. Combi Lift is the straddle carrier, folks that you want to use in the modular industry all throughout. They have units around the world. They've been in this industry a long time, and they are the most trusted units that are out there. And also a big shout out to Brent McPhail, Brave Control Solutions. Brent and his team are using robotics, high tech, and low tech to help you build it better, start your manufacturing facilities, or make your manufacturing facility even more productive on a regular basis. So big shout out to all them. All right, fellas, welcome.
Thank you very much, Dave.
It's awesome to be back.
It is awesome to be back. So you guys have been traveling. You've been on the road, what, 7, 8, 10 days, something like that, traveling the country, talking to universities, talking about how do we educate our industry? How do we bring the workforce back to our industry and all those things? So we're going to get into that. But first, why don't you both give us a quick update? Noel, we'll start with you on what you're doing, what ADL is doing, and then Colby, you can get into MMC.
Absolutely. And thanks, Dave. Great to be on again. ADL Ventures is, we're building offsite startup companies to enable the industry. And most recently, we've joined forces with Colby to put together what we think is going to be a 501c3 nonprofit institution that's going to advance the entire industry and create opportunities for factories around the country.
Great. How about yourself?
Yeah. Oh, man, Dave, it's been too long. You guys are getting settled back into Pittsburgh, out of the RV. Congrats on that. Yeah, it's Colby Swanson with Modular Mobilization Coalition. Yeah, we've been busy trying to figure out how to use our collective strength as an industry to move the construction world from, where we traditionally like to play and everybody's comfortable in the on-site world to more off-site because we sort of have to, right? A pair of hands in the factory is more effective than a pair of hands in the field.
No, it really is. So how do we bring academia and the industry together to grow where we're going and what we're doing? What problems are we truly trying to solve are some of the questions we're going to be talking about today and hopefully getting some answers. And we have affordability, we got workforce, we got energy efficiencies, and there's a whole bunch of new, not problems, but access for people to work in this industry because of the technology and everything that's coming on. So we're going to cover a gamut of it. But if we were to talk about it right now, like what problems are we trying to solve, guys?
Well, I'd say that we picked Appalachia because it was the beginning. It was one of the major centers at the beginning of an American industrial revolution, right? And it's gone through a little bit of a bumpy time with the transitions, with coal, with steel, but all of the people and all of the infrastructure still here to reboot. And we are proposing to reboot it around industrialized construction.
Yeah. And Colby, let me ask you this. To reboot it in this country, how important is it? Because, the rest of the world's starting to do this already. Yeah. And there's a bullseye from the way it looks and from what I'm hearing and seeing in our travels around the world and talking with you guys. How important is it to bring this industry together?
I mean, it's critical. It's not a question anymore of should we do this. We have to do this, right? Yeah. And we've already seen the rest of the world looks at the U.S. market as a pretty juicy market. And there's a lot of activity. There's going to be a lot of construction activity for a long time. And our construction industry thus far is underperforming. We're not able to deliver at the speed, the cost, the quality that the clients need. And so we're seeing more and more imported buildings. So how important is this? I mean, this is essential to national security. This is essential to economic prosperity. All the things that the sort of American way of life is built around good jobs, built around the construction industry. And so we need a stronger construction industry.
And I want to be clear, we welcome diversity and competition. But when we think about building things, we don't want to offshore our industry. We want to bring the jobs here. We want jobs in America. We want supply chains staying in America. But at the end of the day, it will be the people with the best ideas and the best companies will be successful here. That's what we want.
So let's talk about the road show. Why the road show? Why have you guys been on the road? You've been traveling around Appalachia, right? Meeting with universities and politicians and so many other people. What's the reason behind it?
Well, we believe that the solution to this problem is an innovation engine, a regional institute that is the foundation really of solving the problems for our industries that are going to make it more profitable, right? One of the major problems that you were addressing earlier is we have this affordability problem in America. We have to make it so that our manufacturers of buildings are more profitable, right? So how do we get the costs out of it? How do we invent new technology? How do we lay out the factories better so we're more productive, affordable homes are more abundant, and we can get these things out in the field faster? Because we got a 7 million home gap, and we're missing 500,000 workers.
Yeah, so the 7 million home gap, is a huge number. And from what we're hearing and seeing, the population is only going to keep, growing and doubling in the next 15, 20 years. So how are we going to catch up? And, Colby, what's your thoughts on this roadshow as well?
Yeah, so, the roadshow, let's talk a little bit about it. The part of solving this industry problem, which is a huge integration problem, it's probably the largest one we have today, right, is how do you get the industry to do better? And we're not going to do it alone. There's no way. So we got to go out on the road, and we're traveling around Appalachia. We started in Blacksburg, Virginia, went to Boone, North Carolina, West Virginia, Ohio, Kentucky. We're in Pittsburgh now. And we're not done. We're heading down to DC. And who we're meeting with are university leaders in those regions. We're meeting with politicians who are interested and have a vested interest in seeing their region economically more viable. And we deal with an older industry like the coal industry, the steel industry. They need something to sort of offset those dying industries. And we think that the industrialized construction here in Appalachia is one of the big reasons and key answers for them to solve those problems.
And on top of that, we're meeting industry players. We're visiting the factories. We're also visiting the major industrial institutions or companies that we don't normally talk about on this show, like financial institutions, for example. But everybody's going to play a fantastic role. It has to come together because it's not just about fabricating in a factory. It's deploying in the field. It's financing these things. It's insuring these things. It's what here's a bold statement, Dave. We intend to bring an entirely new industry to Appalachia, and we intend to train the workforce to staff it.
So all right, those are big words. You really think about it. That's a huge undertaking, to pull all of that together. So I understand the concept, but what's the solution to making this happen? I think that's where you're thinking differently than a lot of other approaches that have happened in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me tee off on that, and then Nolan is going to have some more big, bold statements for us. So the key to this, and the reason for the Institute, is to organize the industry and organize our activities and organize the fundings and organize our technologies under a concentrated effort, all moving in the same direction. So, effectively, that is the reason we need an institute. This has never existed anywhere in the U.S., probably not in the world. And we're talking about, we're a big tent. If it's off-site, it's inside. So you're talking panelized construction, volumetric construction, pods, precast, 3D printing. All of those things are part of the answer. There's not an answer in any one of those. And so this institute is the place where we can start to sort of optimize the solution and help de-risk how do you build the next 1,000 factories in the country that are going to be needed build buildings in the future at affordable costs where people can pay for them, live in them, and have a good life.
The easiest way to mobilize capital to get to where we want to, we need massive increase in terms of production capability. The easiest and only way to do that is to make it profitable for private investors, for the capitalist system to take hold and go. And in order for that to work out well, the Institute will be figuring out that roadmap. All of those upfront investments, like one of the things we were talking about today was, could you ship offsite product on rail cars
or on boats?
Or on boats, right? That's a great idea, but
rivers.
Not a lot of people have thought really how to do that. And if you're a for-profit company operating on thin margins, you're not really in a position to go experiment. You kind of have to get it right the first time.
Yeah, and so why aren't we using the old infrastructure for this? Why are we not using the rivers? I mean, they kind of run pretty much everywhere we need them to go, and so does the rail station, especially, I mean, this is the whole region, Appalachia, the steel industry. I mean, it was built around transportation and how do you get steel across this country?
I think it starts with design, right? Design intent. So if you design like we have been with the on-site world for on-site construction, there's different transportation needs. And when you start designing for off-site, again, you have to think about, are you going on truck, rail, boat? That changes the dynamic of what that product looks like so that you can fit it on that transportation. And we all know, if we're in the off-site industry, that transportation is a big, big challenge for us. It's a cost that we have to figure out how to mitigate. It doesn't go away. It's just something that we can design so that it's less impactful.
Yeah. So go ahead.
And I don't want people to come away from it like, oh, it's an institute about transportation, because it's not. That's one issue that we have to solve. The institute will deal with like the top 10 critical issues to make this a global industry based here. But another example of this would be, if you were redesigning how we build buildings so that you're not building them in a field, but building them in a factory, what would that design look like? How would you produce them? What kind of equipment would you use? What kind of building materials would you use? All of this changes. And what has been holding us back for so long is that the fragmentation of the industry. Nobody has the pockets, to throw that money down, really. And this is exactly why you need an institute to go do this. Now, I want to mention that we are on a roadshow, which was prompted by the NSF, National Science Foundation, put out a $160 million grant for over a 10-year period to go do something like this. It's going to be all about economic development, workforce training, reinventing an industry in an area that really needs it. So that's the beginning of that.
All right, hold on. $160 million that we could potentially gain for our industry, being in last place in the world as far as, any type of technology, being in last place when it comes to hiring people and getting people into the workforce, being in last place when it comes to a lot of the diversity and the different levels of diversity we can bring into the workforce, and how they can achieve the same thing as, stronger people with the offsite manufacturing side of this, or industrialized manufacturing. So you get that money. What does the universities and higher education really have to do with educating us blue collar folk?
I think it's everything, right? The way that this is going to work fantastically is for the private sector and the public sector and the blue collar and the white collar to all come together and figure out this problem. Because it's not like the traditional problem we've had in the building industry has been that the academics and the white collar folks aren't talking to the people who are building this stuff. And that means that the technology, the ideas never get to the field, never get implemented. And now an institute can fix that. But the most valuable thing that when we all come together is that we can take a public resource, which is this fantastic higher education system and workforce training system and two-year college system that we've got, and apply it to build an actual industry that's going to support our for-profit businesses.
So we've seen industrial revolutions in this country in the past, right? Where we stepped up and we really took the lead on moving an industry forward. Is that kind of what you guys see happening now? Like, we need to step up to the plate. I mean, other countries, when I look at the numbers, Sweden's 30% offsite construction, the UK 45. England, UK is ramping up their game with actually putting it in their code with the MMC and, the farmer report and all that stuff. We're in last place there as well. And when you start looking at a lot of countries around the world, Estonia, I mean, it's like an offsite factory every 5 feet as you go down the road. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on this, on the importance? I think people need to understand how important this is becoming.
Yeah, and how far behind we really are.
Yeah.
And that's why early on, this is not a what if scenario anymore. This is a we must move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at our history in the offsite industry, like the U.S. has actually mobilized a couple times in the past. I mean, there was, just to give you a couple of brief examples, in 1960 to 1972, the offsite industry went from roughly about 10% single-family homes were being produced in the offsite to 50% of the homes that were delivered in 1972 were offsite. That included HUD and permanent construction, 50%. Now, there were a lot of forces at play, and unfortunately, those numbers today, as everybody knows, are back down to 100,000 units again. So we're back down to 9% of the single family. So it's not that we can't do this, is that for some reason we can't sustain it. And so we need to learn from the past. We need to do things right this time because we don't have too many more chances to get this wrong.
Yeah. I don't think we have any more chances, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
we're at the reason that this is a fantastic opportunity, right? As well as a threat, but a fantastic opportunity. It's the biggest bipartisan issue of our time. This is one issue. This is one idea where everybody agrees it's a great idea.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter your politics. And they agree because this is about American jobs, but this is also about advancing the technology in the industry. It's about energy efficiency. We're talking about building a fleet of zero net energy homes, for example, and you can do that without the added cost by manufacturing.
So what is, you get the universities involved, you get the trade associations involved or what have you, you get all the suppliers involved, right? This is a big undertaking. It's not one person gonna do it. Like, who's going to help pull all of this together, and then what are you expecting as far as a return on how many students, how does this re-educate and retrain a workforce that isn't interested in our industry? So it's really two questions. You got who's going to be involved to help pull this together? And then once you do pull it together, how do we get the interest of the young people back into our industry? What makes it cool again?
You want to take the first half?
Sure. The $160 million from NSF is very important, but we can't stop there. That's, as anybody knows, in the construction industry, $160 million isn't going to go very far. So we need to 3x that number with industry partners. Industry partners are going to be, leaders in the industry that see the value of offsite, but can't quite figure out how to get there themselves on their own. And so the Institute is where they can fund and know that people at the Institute are going to be looking and working every day to solve the industry's problems using the academic brain power that we have, which includes places like Carnegie Mellon right here in Pittsburgh. We've got Virginia Tech. We've got West Virginia State University, West Virginia University, Appalachian State University. All these really important players in the region of Appalachia are going to play a part. But then there's also industry. So we've got industry partners all around that region who are going to step up and donate, and fund the Institute. So yeah, this is definitely a coordinated effort, and ADL is going to sort of lead that effort over the next 6 months as we get the proposal for the NSF submission, which is due at the end of this year. So to all of those of you that are out there listening and you want to be a part of this, make sure you reach out to us, and we'll tell you more about how you can get involved.
And I want to tell you about a little bit on the workforce side, because this is one of my favorite parts of this proposal, right? We think about this as we're going to have physical assets here. They're going to be co-located at universities. We will have a design center. We will have pilot lines from all the different offsite technology types under the same roof, so we can experiment with different types of builds. We can turn all the knobs. We can get it right. We can figure out all of the things that cost our partners who do the manufacturing in the field, cost them money right now. We're going to figure that out on our dime.
Give them a playbook.
We're going to give them the playbook. Here are the best practices for hiring. And let me explain the best part about this. By partnering with the universities, right? They become, and the professorship, they're joint appointees in the institute, right? People are joint appointees, but by partnering with specifically with the universities, this is the workforce of the future. They're basically learning while they're learning. They're learning how to do the job while they're learning at the school. You no longer have these two set systems divorced. You've fused them together. So the moment they graduate and they go work for industry, they're bringing all that knowledge that we just developed into the workforce right now. And we can encourage a lot of young people to go in this direction.
And we got to go younger than college and, community college. We've got to go to the high school level. We got to get down to the middle school level. We have to reintroduce shop class. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I took shop class. That was one of the reasons I'm in the construction industry today. Right? You took drawing. At 7th grade, I took drawing, learned how to do my measurements and do a scale drawing. 8th grade, I built a little desk, and that thing stuck with me for all these years. Well, those classes have since they've been taken out of schools a lot in most places, and we need to put those back in so that the kids can get experience with what it is to build with your hands and what it is to be in the construction industry and the pride that you can have in building something.
Yeah. Listen, if you're out there, we want to hear your thoughts on this as well. I mean, what do you think you can do, or who do you know that could help these guys drive this forward? I mean, $160 million opportunity does not come around very often. In fact, it's probably once in a lifetime for anybody. And I think if we have the opportunity to take advantage of this, come together as an industry, we need some leadership in this industry. We need to drive it forward collectively. And I'm talking modular panel, the whole gamut, across the board, and collaborate. And we can actually make something great. We can build better homes, more sustainable homes. We can build more affordable homes. And again, if you're over here on the East Coast, just go out to the West Coast. You want to see how people are living out there. It's not a pretty sight driving. So this is super important. And somebody, whether it is the USA or other, is going to take advantage of this opportunity to help solve these problems, and grow their businesses. So go ahead.
Dave, I think when you think about industries that have industrialized, when you think of Carnegie, when you think about Ford, when you think about
Vanderbilt,
these names, but then you think about the construction industry, what name comes to you? Like we haven't done it yet. We haven't done the hard work to industrialize our industry. And so the opportunity is absolutely, there's enough in this for everyone, and this isn't a winner take all. So when I said earlier that the tent's wide open, we want the on-site world in this tent. We need single family home builders out there. We need anybody who's building buildings, who's willing to look at more effective ways to deliver that product to partner with us.
Yeah. So make sure you get in contact with us. The tent's wide open. We're looking for people who know workforce. We're looking for people who are in the affordable home space. We're looking for people who want to do the science and math behind it, the engineering, the design. Come on, talk to us.
Hospitality industry, multifamily industry, you name it, in the hospital industry, data centers, all of these things.
Military.
The military can win with offsite.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, you got our support at Dave Cooper Live. We're going to be helping and pushing this. I want everybody to understand this isn't something that is just starting. You guys are already knee deep in all of the behind the scenes paperwork and everything to be a part of this. Yes.
Oh yeah. So we submitted 2 months ago. We found out 2 weeks ago. We were encouraged. We got green light to go. We immediately got on the road. We've been on the road for now 2 weeks. We're going to our third week here and then down in DC. Then we're going to recompile everything, figure out what the structure looks like, and then we're going to come back out and do it again.
Yeah. And this is the NSF proposal. This is really unique. $160 million from the NSF over 10 years is unheard of. One of the things that they're also doing different is they're asking for all the proposals to look at the other competition that has their own proposals and see if you can find collaboration. So we want to reach out to all those folks and say, look, let's talk. Let's figure out how together we can do something that individually just wouldn't be possible. Yeah. Which, from a personal standpoint, that was the whole point of MMC, right? Back in the day when we came together, it was something that we
Modular Mobilization Coalition, not Modern Methods of Construction. Correct. So if you're in England, there's a conflicting conversation. But hey, conflicts in Appalachia in our name, in our industry is common.
But we want to learn from the UK. We want to learn from Sweden. We want to learn from our folks that are doing this stuff and have been doing it for a long time. Whether you're in Japan or
that's right.
Australia or wherever in the world.
Well, we're gonna get to some comments and questions in just a few moments. If you're out there, appreciate you tuning in and listening to this. But I have a couple extra questions if you guys have a few moments to talk about, right? So the two of you have experience in this industry doing it, but who does have the experience to pull this off and really to do this? And like what's super important for you guys that you need?
I think I'll take a first crack at this, but this is as we stated earlier, a huge system integration problem. So this is going to be we'll call it cross-discipline support and cross-discipline effort. Universities need to be involved. So when Nolan started off, he said this is going to be a 501(c). So this is going to be a new organization that has membership, and we need membership not from a standpoint of just money, but leadership and knowledge. And that needs to come from Wall Street. That needs to come from finance. That needs to come from the insurance industry, the real estate industry, the building materials industry. All those folks are going to have an opportunity to participate in this. Yep. I don't think you can't point to one single entity. It's going to take it's an organizational effort that's just going to take a lot of coordination at the end of the day. And that's kind of what we're starting to do the process and start to build that team.
But I also want to remind everybody, this is not just all work. Like if you're in the business of making money, you're not just donating money away. Right. This is like we're reinventing industries. Can you imagine how much the insurance industry, just the insurance industry alone, is going to profit when they can start doing offsite insurance?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or the rail industry.
Whenever. Yeah.
When we start putting buildings on rail, or the river shipping industry. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity, and we need those folks to come and join us on this to be successful.
And by the way, I would just take a guess that it's cheaper to ship these modules down the river than it is to put them down the highways these days.
Yeah,
especially if you're going downriver.
It'd be great to have Carson kind of help us figure that out.
Yeah, there you go, Carson. You got to get into the boat business now, my friend.
Boats and rail.
So, let's say you get this all in place. You guys get it set up. How do you actually measure the success of the program? What are the checks and balances?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. We've started with metrics. Like everything we're doing is about the metrics. But the goal here, if the goal here is deploy a fleet of buildings across America, then you're looking at how many buildings are you deploying, and not maybe we're going to get the institute itself will be in the business of designing, deploying, testing to work out the kinks. But how many businesses are you enabling? What's the net revenue that profit that you're helping the cluster bring into their coffers? We're going to measure all of that because that is the success, right? Yeah, making our industry partners successful.
A couple other metrics. We want to see the existing factories increase their output 2x, maybe even 3x. We need 1 million new single-family houses like ASAP. We need 1,000 new factories built or renovated. So we need local players like Module. We need Browne and BBC. We need Factory OS. We need everybody to build more factories.
And we got to run them twice as fast or 3 times as fast. And then we have to kind of look through. That's the part of the playbook. How do you run the existing assets you got even faster?
And then the last piece of that is we need the demand side to pull through. So we need big real estate developers who have a product that's well made for repeatability to start ordering from us and start talking and helping and pull the industry to the direction that you need to go, which is you want these buildings, you want them at a better cost. The only way you're going to get there is you industrialize the industry. So this is a push, a pull, and everything else you can do when it comes to like how you move the needle here.
All right. So the hard question here, Colby, you've been very successful in your life and really successful in the offsite space. Nolan, ADL. I mean, you guys have brought a lot of businesses to the market and are super successful there. Where's the passion coming from on this? Because in my experience, great things come because there's a personal passion. So what's driving you two to want to do this?
For me, it's like 2 things, right? I'm from a family that's from Detroit, so it's also synonymous with urban, or industrial collapse. I came from an industry, the solar industry, which got offshored. I don't want to see it go this way for the construction industry. We know how to do this. We can do it. I want to do this. But beyond that, when I just even think about the United States and us as a culture, I mean, this is the panacea of solutions for us to some regard, right? We're talking about affordable housing for America, right? We're talking about jobs, a workforce for America, right? We're talking about we're talking about inclusion, right? Right now, there's 500,000 missing employees. That's another example of inclusion would be like we're making it accessible for a lot of like women to get into the workforce when before it was more difficult.
So this is what's interesting. In our travels around the world, we're in a lot of factories. We'll be in Switzerland leaving next Saturday and doing some more European tours while we're out there. And one of the greatest things that you see when you're in countries that have, taken on the offsite perspective of building, and more of their buildings are becoming offsite, the diversity within these manufacturing facilities, because you no longer need, the 300-pound man that can lug, 4x8 sheets of plywood up a ladder any longer, because now we have machinery that does it. And we're seeing a whole lot of women in the workforce. Some of these factories are 30-40% now doing what traditionally wouldn't have been something they would do in the field because of the differences in strength and so forth. So that's amazing. And that opens the workforce up in our industry to everybody. It doesn't silo anybody from being part of our industry in welding, carrying sheetrock, any of that stuff.
Yeah. If we don't figure out how to do that, my sort of personal story and why I'm doing this and chasing this is I spent half my career fixing broken buildings, involved in class action litigation and building forensics, and have seen, you do enough of that, you start to see why the industry isn't working, why we aren't performing at the level we need to perform at. And so I've spent the last 10 years just focused on how do you fix this? And the offsite industry is the play, and I already said earlier, I got the bug back in 7th grade. I love construction. I love building stuff. I love seeing things get built, whether it's a building on a job site, a building in a factory, doesn't matter. So yeah, there's enough passion to go around for the whole country,
for everybody
at the table.
Perfect. All right, let's go to a couple comments and questions. What do you guys think? All right, Michael Bruce says subcontractors are the key here. They must be convinced that modular is their benefit. They control the home building labor in the U.S. So why don't we touch on that?
Yeah, subcontractors who right now have probably built their businesses up on the on-site world. They need to see and understand the economics that off-site works, right? So we need to build that story for them. We need to demonstrate to them that it is possible, and right along that is the unions, right? We need to also demonstrate to the unions that it's to their benefit to open up the door and let the off-site industry, build more buildings and take union workers that traditionally would be on a job site, move them into a factory.
Yeah. Well, and they're going to start to realize that they can do more with less labor, right? In the field, wherever they're at, the unions are already starting to look at it. Unions already have some projects, happening and some training centers in this space that are happening. But the bottom line is this: once the trades realize that they can do more work with less liability, less employee, retention and headache issues, because it's hard to get skilled labor today. It becomes a win-win for the industry.
And we don't need, it's not a winner take all. So there's always going to be jobs on site. There's always going to be jobs 100%. In a factory. So there's something for everybody.
Yeah, offsite is not the be all for all projects. Absolutely right. All right, so we got Henry Mickelberg, never a stranger to this show. In Sweden, they call offsite construction. Construction. Makes sense.
Well stated.
I'll take that as a question. And I think where we're going with that is, there's a lot to be learned from other countries. We are very aware of one part of what we're going to be doing with looking at where it's being successful right now. What can we learn from Sweden and Japan and China and everybody? Because why reinvent the wheel, right?
That's right. Gilbert Meyer says important is new material science, composites tooling, filtering, CNC robotics. Let me jump down. Yes, follow up to that. To come up with new building technology, new skill sets have to be added, not coming from the building industry. That is the only way we are getting away on trying to automatize an outdated technology. Thoughts?
Yeah, well, that's exactly why you want these universities involved, right? They're the pioneers, the vanguard, if you will, of all these technologies that we in the offsite industry don't really know yet, right? By creating a great partnership in between the two, by us being able to go to the industry, figure out what the problems are, and bring them to the universities, we can get solutions that we wouldn't otherwise be able to find.
Building materials that are designed for on-site don't necessarily work in the off-site world. So there's an opportunity for building materials manufacturers to rethink the materials that they're currently delivering as a value add. It's a new product. It's a new line that you can now sell into the offsite industry.
And best of all, on that particular point, the manufacturing world cares about throughput. They don't care necessarily about the cost of a widget. So you can actually sell your materials for more expensive if it helps the fab perform better.
That's right. All right, we got another question here. Brian Sayre, who's just on our show. If you want to see one smart guy, you should check out what was that, last Monday, I think, right, Jen? All right. Is this viable without a national network of manufacturers with proven, scalable, and sustainable businesses to fund the Institute and hire the workforce? And just to note on that, because I want you guys to touch on it, we didn't talk about the sustainability side of offsite manufacturing. And I think that's a big part of this whole proposal to move things forward. Go for it.
I'll take the sustainability part. You want to take the next part? Okay. So on the sustainability part, this is 40% of the CO2 emitted into the atmosphere. It comes out of the built environment. When we do the math on this, we figure that we can reduce that by at least half or more without impacting the quality of life to the occupants of the building. So whether you're at home or whether you're at work, you won't even notice that the energy is being saved. So this is a huge opportunity for us to make a big, significant dent in our carbon emissions without the hassle and the expense that it generally is being asked of all Americans right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as far as factories, we're way under capacity, and Brian knows this. Everybody knows this, right? We need more factories. So yeah, this doesn't happen unless the fairly limited number of factories that we have today get on board with this, and then we start to generate the interest where CapEx and capital starts flowing in, so that you guys who already have factories can start duplicating factories. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, we need the support of the industry today to be able to get to where we need to get to in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, we got Amy Marks tuning in. She says, hi, all, joining from a flight, trying her best to join us. So there is another advocate for our industry, puts on shows, heck of a speaker, and really trying to make waves and drive this industry forward. So Amy, hope you're having a safe flight, and tell us how that internet is up there. That's got to be one of those frustrating moments. When I think data's hard, she's got to really think it's hard. All right, let's give a couple quick shout outs to some other people that have jumped on today just to say hi. We got some new people out there as well. From YouTube, we have Channel Growth by Ashik Razul. He says, great to meet. So thank you for joining us from YouTube. We got Joel Hutchins out there. What's happening, Joel? Last time we were in London, guess who was there? Joel.
Yeah,
Guy's everywhere. I mean, he's everywhere. Joel, we're going to be in Lucerne, Switzerland. Any chance we can get together for a beer there? You're going to be there just in a couple of days. So we'd love to see you there for sure. All right, let me keep scrolling down here. I saw some new ones come in. Megan Reisner. She's shouting out to Jennifer. So Megan, thank you for joining us today. They take pride in educating themselves in the offsite space. Amy did say that there are some activities around this topic already. Just an FYI, happy to connect with others as always. So guys, what did we miss today? Is there anything we want to touch on before we wrap it up?
I think we touched on a lot of important things. Let me.
I knew this was a scary question for Nolan.
It's an open question.
He's flipping through his notes now.
Here, why don't you start answering? I'm sure I'll think of something.
Oh, well, look, I think this is not an effort that just started, right? This is an effort that started many years ago, and there's a lot more people involved in it than just the two of us here. And we're moving this forward. The NSF piece is nice, and we need to have that. That's going to be a critical component for the public-private partnership to this. But, I think the bigger play here is industry. Industry needs to step up. We need industry to participate. And so we're really excited to be here, and we're really excited to talk to, your folks that are on the show.
I do have an answer now. This is a mission that started for us about 2008, founding the Fraunhofer Center for Sustainable Energy Systems at MIT. The learnings we got from that and the models we were able to develop advise this new institute that we're trying to build today. So this is not a model that we just kind of invented. It's evolved over 20 years, and we borrowed it from the German system.
Yeah.
We know it works.
That's awesome. All right, last comment coming from Devin Perry. All right, good to see you, Devin. We'll see you tomorrow too, right? We're doing some fun interviews and moderating tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing the ADL team later this week in Washington, D.C. Let's make a note to discuss how the Robert C. Byrd Institute for Advanced Flexible Manufacturing and Marshall University can help as well. So there you have it. That's
Thank you.
Devin. Yeah.
That's the collaboration we're looking for. So if you don't know Devin Perry, he's one of the hardest working folks at the NAHB Building Systems Council. He pretty much started it, has grown it to what it is, and he keeps driving the industry forward. So it's always a pleasure. If you don't know Devin, please follow him and reach out to him. All right, guys, what do we got? That's it.
Yeah,
that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Thanks so much, Dave. Really appreciate being on the show, and it's great being able to visit you in your new place in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, well, we're happy you guys are here. We got plenty of boxes to move around. All right, for the rest of you, we will see you this Wednesday, 1 p.m. on our product spotlight, and again Friday on BS Friday. But Saturday, No Coffee with Dave, as we will be airborne on our way to Switzerland. But stay tuned for all kinds of great shows coming from Switzerland. We got the Unbuild It podcast going on over there and so many others with some pretty big heavy hitters in this industry. So stay tuned for that. Guys, thank you so much. Hope you have a safe journey to Washington, D.C. Give Devin a big hug for me. He likes some big bear hugs, this guy. He's shaking his head. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye now.